First, I wanted to thank Bill and his whole Summerfest team for providing us this opportunity to share the work that our teachers and our students are doing throughout the year with the community. We have lots of shows throughout the year, but this one's a little special because it's K to 12. So you can actually come in and see what kindergartners are doing and what seniors in high school are doing and kind of the whole program. So it's really special to us, and we really appreciate all your hard work into setting up Summerfest. So thank you. The other thing I'd like to thank is the art teachers throughout the district. They're working with your children every day to bring them through this creative process so they can execute artwork like you see in the lobby. And they work really hard every day with your kids, and they enjoy it. And it's just, so this is a really positive show for us. So now I'm going to jump into the awards. We're going to start with the kindergarten through second grade category. We have Kiara Lerby, kindergarten from the Brookfield School, honorable mention. I have a picture of the artwork up here, and if you're here when I call your name, if you can come on up in the middle to receive your award. Juliana Brown, grade 2, Brookfield School, honorable mention. Shayra Penna, grade 2, George School, 3rd place. Delaney Piera, grade 2, Raymond School, 2nd place. Geraldino D'Souza, grade 2, Arnone School, 1st place. For the grades 3 to 5 category, Shane Dwyer, 3rd grade, Davis School, honorable mention. Michelange Ambrosia Jr., grade 4, Downey School, honorable mention. Eleonora Vega, grade 3, Brookfield School, 3rd place. Jason Pike, grade 4, Huntington School, 2nd place. Carlos Zarata, grade 3, George School, 1st place. This is the 6th through 8th grade category. Liana Gomes, grade 7, South Middle School, honorable mention. Caitlin Weber, grade 6, Davis School, honorable mention. Melania DePina, grade 7, Plouffe School, 3rd place. And in the 6 through 8 category, they had such a hard time judging. There's 2 3rd places. So Cassandra Munoz, grade 8, Ashfield School, 3rd place. Windsor Gordier, grade 7, Ashfield School, second place. Bianca Pyres, South Middle School, grade 8, first place. In the grades 9 through 12 category, Brandon Gordine, grade 12, BHS honorable mention. Jennifer Diaz, grade 11, BHS, third place. Josiana Santos Pyres, grade 10, BHS, second place. Emma Danapolis, grade 12, BHS, first place. And I know her parents are here to collect her award. Emma is off at college, so her parents are going to collect for her. And that's right. And best in show, Giovanni Velasquez, grade 11, BHS. And that concludes the awards. I wanted to once again thank Bill and the whole Summerfest committee. And I think we'd like a photograph of all the winners, if we can do that quick. So if you could come stand in the middle. Is that, yeah? And we'll take a quick picture. Bill, you gotta go in there. Bill, Sarah, you coming here?
Yeah, I'll come in. I'll come in.
What was so impressive, Madam Superintendent, was all the creativity and such a nice variety of work to choose from out in the auditorium hallway. I was so impressed when I walked in and went from left to right. You know, the first and second graders, it seemed to start, and I was so impressed with the work that the youngest ones are doing, and then obviously working our way to the right. Wonderful, just wonderful.
Well, I think Director Sarah Richards said it best. You know, the teachers, work very closely with our students, whether they are young artists coming to us or those that are developing, and, seeing, again, just the work that they do, as you say, from the littlest youngster to our older youngsters. So it's just, wonderful talent. And thank you to the school committee for always putting the arts as a priority for our students. So, thank you.
So we will go back to the, oh, yes, I'm sorry. Okay. If the people that are here for the art awards would like to leave, we can just take a minute break so that people can exit to the right.
Or you're welcome to
Yeah.
stay.
Or to go home and do homework.
Thank you.
Bye, Tom. Congratulations. Very nice. Bye. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Wow.
You love it? Sad. Look, we're all alone.
Your fan club? Oh. Hmm. Oh.
Well, the cameras are all.
Okay. We will go back to our agenda, and the next item is item number 3, which is the consent agenda. It is the routine bundling of matters for approval. At this time, any school committee member may remove a matter or several matters for individual discussion. Would anyone like to remove any of the items? No? Okay, could someone then make a motion?
Make the motion to accept the consent agenda?
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor? Okay, great. All right, communication and report of the superintendent of schools. Obviously, we have taken care of the presentation of Summerfest Art Awards, so B would be learning and teaching.
Thank you. One of the first things that I want to talk about this evening is our new state testing. And I want to remind everybody, it has been a lot of years since we had our first MCAS testing, which came in with ed reform in the early 90s. The first administration that actually counted full graduation for our students was in 2003, but for a number of years before that, we administered, the new test. At first, it was very difficult. It was new to us. In time, we certainly soared and showed extremely large growth in our urban district. We've always been very, very proud of how we see challenges, how we meet those challenges, and make sure that we support our youngsters academically so they are able to achieve. Since coming on as superintendent, it was a time of change under the new accountability, under the reauthorization of the IDEA, under the new ESSA accountability. Our state has been working. I can take you back when we talked about the PARCC exam, the Common Core, alignment to the Common Core. We talked about the computer-based testing. So for a long time, Brockton has jumped in. It jumped in to trial some of the computer-based testing back in the days of, if you remember, the Hancock School, the Raymond School, the Ashfield School jumped on as a middle school, and we continued each year to add another school. Part of that for us was we did not have one-to-one devices for all our students. We have shared devices. We still don't have one-to-one devices for all our students, but we continue to provide more, we call them the laptop carts, to our schools. Our kids are learning with computers, our teachers are teaching with computers, because that is the new MCAS 2.0. So this past year, this is our baseline year, and on Thursday, the 27th of September, they will be releasing the scores. We presently do have the scores. Our principals have the scores. They are embargoed. We're unable to talk about that. We will have Dr. Cancel come and speak to the school committee probably sometime in October, so we can go through, it's very complicated. It's a complete change from where we were, very different testing. It's apples and oranges. And I've asked Dr. Cancel, although the scores are embargoed, I've asked him to come this evening and share a few slides. So again, when they are released on Thursday, we will have information to share with school committee at that time, with our public. But I would like Dr. Cancel to go over some of the new state accountability measures that we will be reviewing.
Oops. The data are embargoed. Again, this is not real. This is an example from the state. But I want to stress that. The new accountability system has a lot of different components. It has achievement, it has growth, it has high school completion for high schools, obviously. It has progress towards attaining English language proficiency, and that would be for our English language learners. It's the WIDA test. There are these additional indicators that would be advanced coursework and chronic absenteeism. I want to go through all of these a little bit in a little more detail, I should say. If you look at achievement and then head towards the right, now in the old accountability system, there was the CPI score, the Composite Performance Index. Took a long time for us to figure it out, but now that's done away with for all the elementary grades. It's still hanging around for the high school for this year, and then it's done. But right now, we're going to be using scaled scores going forward for English language arts. So it's the average scaled score. If you notice right below that, you have math achievement, and then you have science achievement. Those will be scaled scores. The other thing that I want to point out is, it says, it's hard to read it, but it says points earned and total possible points. I'm going to go into this more on the next slide, but each of these criteria are worth 4 points, a maximum of 4 points. And I'll go over on the next slide so you can see how they're apportioned. The growth is the next one. We're familiar with growth. It's the student growth percentile. The difference this year is it's the average, not the median student growth percentile. The state claims that will do a better job of describing the middle. And again, it's out of 4 points. You can also see, if you look further to the right, the first column says all students. The next column says the lowest performing students. The lowest performing students, the state refers to as the bottom 25% of a school. Every school in the Commonwealth, every single one, has a top, a middle, and a bottom. They took a look at the bottom 25%, and that is a cohort. And that will count, you'll see, an awful lot. Moving down past growth, we have high school completion. This would obviously be for high schools. In this fictitious example, it is not a high school, but if it were a high school, the 4-year graduation rate, what they now call the extended engagement rate. Let's say that you are not scheduled to graduate in 4 years, but you are still engaged in the academic program. You get credit for that. There's no reason to penalize you for that. So that's called extended engagement. And then the annual dropout rate, which we're familiar with. Those go together in the high schools, but not in the elementary or middle schools. I talked about the next one, which is progress towards attaining English language proficiency. That's the WIDA access scores. I cannot fool you. I honestly don't understand this as of yet. I've asked 2 questions. I've read everything they have. There is an index score and there is a grade level. When we get to the bottom of it, I will do my best to explain it to you, but right now, I have not heard a coherent answer. The next one, these are the additional indicators. I don't know if you remember, but there were all kinds of promises that this would be the social emotional side. This would be trying to get at, the arts and things like that. But what came out of it was chronic absenteeism, which is defined by the state as missing 10% or more of the days. And anyone who's in attendance for 20 days counts. So normally you'd say, oh, it's 180 days in a school year, 10% is going to be 18 if you miss more than that. I need to point out for this, it doesn't matter if you're excused, if it's a medical absence. It does not matter if you're marked absent, you're marked absent. Now, I should point out to all of you, if you do go for a long-term hospital stay, most likely you will be receiving hospital instruction. We'll be sending tutors over there for you. You will not be marked absent. But if you're just sick, you get a doctor's note, that's fine, you're absent. It's just something to think about. And then there's this advanced coursework completion. It's the usual suspects of AP, IB, but also what the state, there's a list, what they call advanced courses, things like pre-calculus that may not be truly AP or IB, but still advanced courses. This is an important one, and you're going to hear a lot more about it from our chief academic officer. You'll hear the superintendent talk about that. If you want students to be ready in high school to take these advanced courses, they need to be prepared in middle school, they need to be prepared in elementary school. And so this now counts. If you go down, it says the weighted, let me just proceed as I went along. I brought up the all students up at the top versus the lowest performing students. I want to draw your attention to this because this is the state's solution to closing the achievement gap. What the state found in looking at our efforts to close the achievement gap, which we have not done in Massachusetts. Brockton has, but the state has not. The state was very concerned. We led the nation year after year after year in achievement. We also led the nation in terms of achievement gap between the highest performing and the lowest performing students. So the state's solution was, we will have a bottom 25% because in any school in the Commonwealth, there is a top and a bottom. And what you need to do is you need to make progress. The bottom needs to make progress, the top needs to make progress. If you look down at the bottom, you add up all the possible points, you figure out what percentage it is out of the possible points available, and you end up with a percentage of possible points. You average those two numbers together. Many people have pointed this out to me. They've said, but Ethan, 25% is far fewer than all students. Do they count the same? They do count the same. Those are the rules of the game. For certain schools, it will help you if your bottom 25% are doing great and your all students are not. In other schools, it will hurt you. In this fictitious example, the bottom 25% knocked it out of the park. They almost met 100% of their targets, 95%. Much better than the 69%. It averages out to an 82. So that is the new system. It is very complicated. It takes a lot to get through this and to understand how you did. And there you go. I want to show the next slide. This target percentage. I told you that you get a certain number of points. It's out of 4 points. What's really different about this scale as opposed to in the past, if you made proficient, you got 100 points of CPI points. If you were advanced, you got 100 points. Here, if you meet the target, you do exactly what you're supposed to do, you get 3 out of 4 points, which is 75%. it's only when you exceed the target do you get 4 out of 4 points. So 75% is really good. That's one way to think about it. If you are improving, possibly not at the rate that the state set for you, but you're still improving, you'll get 2 points. So one way that the state is talking about this, if you're making 50% of your targets or higher, you have improved. So that's really important, because if we go back here, every school is going to have one of these percentages. This school did more than, this fictitious school did more than meet its targets. It did very, very, very well. But if it had scored a 52, that usually doesn't sound pretty good. It still means it's improving. That is not a bad thing. And you can see that you get 25% or 1 point for no change, and you get 0 points if you actually go down. So we do have to sort of rethink how we calibrate what good is. This shows us there are 2 different measures that are important. The first one we just went over in excruciating detail, the 82%, it's meeting its targets. That progress towards improvement targets, that's for a school compared to its own history. So that's really important when you want to see, did the school do well? It's looking at its history. It's not being compared to anyone else but itself. The accountability percentile is when you say, how does this school compare to every other school in the Commonwealth? And I need to pause right there and say, there's another big difference with a very large impact. In the good old days of the past accountability system, they put the elementary schools and compared them to elementary schools. They compared the middle schools to middle schools, high schools to high schools, and K through 8s to K through 8s. Now, if you are 3 through 8, any grade configuration, you're in the same pool. You're all compared together. I need to just point out as a description, I'm not putting a value here. The vast, vast majority of schools in this Commonwealth are small suburban elementary schools. Do they look anything like a urban K through 8? No. Do they look anything like an urban middle school? No, they don't. They don't even look like a suburban middle school. But all the schools are now compared to each other. This will make a difference. This is from, this whole slideshow is basically from what the state did today. And they had some rules that they told us to remind us, and we thought it was very important to repeat the rules. And it's new accountability, it is a fresh start. And so it says, we cannot compare the 2018 accountability data to historical accountability results. No matter what your percentiles were in the past, they're not the same. You used to be compared if you were in elementary school to elementary schools, middle schools to middle schools. You're now compared all together. The performance against targets, everything is different. It's just a whole different set of measurements. Also, this accountability system is brand new. You only have 1 year of data behind you. And so you don't have the 4 years to sort of say, well, this 1 year was an aberration. The test is brand new. We really haven't had a chance to run it through its paces, see how it operates. The thing that they point out, you can't equate accountability categories with historical accountability and assistance levels. And this is a really difficult one to sort of get our heads around, because the commissioner said, we're basically pausing this year. There are going to be no new, what he called level 4, what used to be called level 4 schools. There are going to be no new level 4 schools. So it's just a pause this year, just to figure everything out. Well, so we don't even know, if you do get an accountability status, exactly what the support or the oversight is going to look like from the state. We know what it was in the past, but we don't know what it is now. But again, there's this pause. So it's really important if you say, oh, my school was a level 1 last year, now it needs whatever this year. I would just say, that was that system, this is this system. And if people want to, say, how did it do on this brand new system, that the figure on the left will say, this is how you did according to your own targets. I have to caution you, it's 1 year of data. If you happen to have a very good year, the baseline year, you're going to have a much harder time making your targets than if you had a really bad year that first year. Over time, these things even themselves out. They start weighting, so this counts the most, but this counts, and the year before that counts, and the year before that counts. A lot of this stuff is new. So, there you have it. And if you have any questions, I'll do my best. Yes? No, it's no longer on a 1 through 4 scale. But you will get judged every year, and the state will give you an accountability rating.
Excuse me, what was that again? Sorry.
You will get an accountability rating every year,
Okay,
but it's no longer on the 1 through 4 level.
okay. But before it was,
It was before.
okay.
Before, not only was it on level 1 was what you would want your school to be, it showed enormous growth, and we saw that in a number of our schools, many times that had a strand of English language learners, those students blossom as soon as you're getting them into good instruction. So we saw that at East, we saw that at North at the time, we saw that at the Kennedy at one point. We had a number of level 2 schools, many of our middle schools. Level 3, it was, you were improving, but we wanted them in level 1s and 2s. We've never had a level 4 in the Brockton Public Schools. We prided ourselves on that, which is state intervention. Not that we haven't had state support and opportunities for grants. And level 5 would be a district that was basically taken over for receivership, or a particular school would have been. So there are districts where the state has come in, they were not feeling the progress was happening quick enough for students. That whole system is gone. So we will not be talking about level 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, but as Dr. Cancel said, there will be talks about meeting targets and not needing state intervention or getting some assistance from the state. So when we do our presentation on the Brockton Public Schools, you will see school by school. It'll be very different than what we've been used to. I have every feeling that, again, we have been preparing, we've been looking at curriculum, we're doing, curriculum audits. Chief Academic Officer June Saban-McGuire and her team have been doing yeoman's work. You had the presentation, we did our large retreat last year about the vertical and horizontal articulation. What I am excited about with this is you are going to make every school focus on that lowest 25%, whatever the reason the student is. And there could be many reasons why a student is performing in the lowest 25%. You will look at your interventions. You will look at ways to small groupings, ways to support, and possibly additional, especially with a district like Brockton. When we're talking, and I will never make excuses, but when you're talking about first grades, 31 and 32 in a class, fourth, fifth grades, and this we have had the past couple of years. We are looking at numbers right now of, in the past 3 years, how many teachers we've lost in Brockton. And I haven't confirmed the number, but you're talking to close to about 175 teachers. So, when we see those things happening, we are certainly prepared to do whatever we need to do, just like we did previously. So we will continue to monitor the state assistance. We're looking forward to sharing that information with you, with our community, and to educate ourselves. I will tell you my frustration, and this was expressed probably within the past 2 years when this system was being developed. And when I look at chronic absenteeism, there are times that kids are coming from one district to another, families are transient, they're moving, people are getting settled. We talk about trauma happening in many of our urban schools. And when you look at something like that, that is an indicator, not that we wouldn't have always paid attention to where is this child? Are they in school? We have attendance officers, we reach out to parents. You have been instrumental in making sure that we continue to provide as much as we can with school adjustment counselors, guidance support. That's why all of that is so important. So we're going to learn, this is going to be another level of making sure, and we're going to need parents to work with us on this. It is critical that students get to school. But when you look at an indicator like that, that is going to harm some of your urban districts that are dealing with the type of things we're dealing with. So the frustration becomes, why couldn't, and I can't rewrite what's happened, but I do want to remind you that we advocated for looking at schools that are providing social and emotional support to their students. That should be an extra indicator. What about schools that are providing additional opportunities in the arts, things that you saw here today, or students that speak more than one language? So those were things we had looked for additional indicators. You see that they are not on there. So we will continue to do what we need to do. Our children will succeed, but it is going to take some time for us to make sure that we understand this accountability system and we're doing everything we can, not only for all students, but we specifically will be looking at, and we'll have to look at, our lowest 25%. You know, when I tell you I've been around a long time, I will remind everybody that back when MCAS came in, we had a lot of failures. And I'll never forget qualifying for an entitlement grant at the time. Excuse me, it was competitive when it first came in. And we ended up getting close to $1 million in a grant that allowed us to do what we did in the summers, which was all kinds of extended learning time for kids. We did after-school programs, we did summer programs, and we targeted those so-called students that would have been that lowest 25%. And we had programs going on for probably close to well over 2,000, 3,000 kids in the district. Those days have been gone. Those grants have been not there to support looking at those students. But again, we'll continue to see what we need to do, and we will be actively working with our curriculum teams to make sure our schools get the support that they need.
Ethan, when you said that the tests don't count, we're talking about the scores that are being released on Thursday.
Yes,
Yes,
but
but-
they don't count?
Well, not the count, but there's no accountability in place yet.
I may not have been clear. What the commissioner said was that he's going to name no new schools to what he called level 4.
Right.
What we would call broad support or comprehensive support this year.
And then so going forward this spring, when we have the tests again,
Mhm.
Bessie hasn't indicated whether or not they're going to hold districts accountable, schools accountable.
Right.
Either, right? So we haven't heard from them on that.
It's a good point because the high school is for the first time going to take the test online. It's going to be a Board of Education decision. Will they hold the schools and districts accountable on a brand-new online test?
Oh, whoops. Okay, that was my big question, because I've been waiting to see when they're going to decide if this spring is going to be counted, because I've had a lot of questions about it, even at work.
Yeah.
I have to tell you, Brett, that we were on 2 conference calls today about this information, and you're allowed to ask questions, and a number of superintendents were asking, these very questions. So not only do they not have the answers, they certainly will. I'm not sure it's quick enough for us, but, again, we're dealing with something new. The commissioner has also made it clear that he wants a little bit of time to take a look at the accountability system, to really make some decisions, about this system. It's not going to be perfection. There probably are some flaws. I know they're fixing some things now, as Dr. Cancel said. When he doesn't understand something, I worry. So I know he's been asking, when he mentioned, I think it was the English language learners for proficiency, we need to understand these things. I mean, this is, we're scaring the heck out of October coming. We're already into this year. So last year was last year. So again, we will continue to do what we're doing, but we are asking those questions. And the commissioner, I believe, is taking a look and really making some decisions with his team. So we'll keep you updated as we go along. I'm sure it's going to be a focal point this whole year.
And just piggybacking on what you said about ELL students, I didn't see any sped indicators on there either, which was in the previous system.
It may be that you'll see a lot of the special ed students and the English language learners in the bottom 25%.
Right. I know BHS was held accountable for
Yep.
subgroups that,
And they,
You know,
and they may in
kind
the
of weird.
future as well.
okay, thanks.
You know, there's also, when you mention that, Brett, there's also a breakdown, you know, we didn't show that, it's complicated, and we will take time to do that. But when you dig deeper, you're looking at all the different subgroups and their accountability, so you will have special education in there as a subgroup.
Lisa?
Thank you. I have two questions for you.
Okay.
One is, as you stated, this is a complicated system that we're not even, totally comfortable understanding yet. How are we going to educate our parents to understand these test scores?
Glad you asked that question. The state has a one-pager, and, I was talking to the executive team about this, and I was complaining a little that it's so complicated, and, I'd been on the advisory board trying to put in our 2 cents, and, was soundly ignored. But the way that you do well is you know the rules. And I give this example all the time, and I always tell everyone I'm from New Jersey, I'm a Jet fan, but Bill Belichick knows the rule book better than anyone. You have to know what the rules of the game are, and we have to make that clear. Just like Kathy said, it may not be fair about chronic absenteeism. We have to do a better job of making sure that our parents from kindergarten doesn't count, 1st grade to 12th grade, they know you can't just take a day off because you can, Mike Thomas was telling us, you're allowed to have a certain number of days before you automatically fail, and I guess you have enough in the books, you just take a day. That doesn't work anymore. And so we have to be really smart about the rules, know the ins and outs, and teach our parents. When I first came to Brockton, I remember sitting down with the math department and going over the MCAS test. I was so impressed by what they knew about tests, and I had a test prep background. I was like, these folks really know what they're talking about with MCAS. So Brockton did it in the past, we'll do it in the future, but it is complicated. There is this one-pager, and we will be working it.
Thank you.
I think more than that, Lisa, you bring up a really good point that we have been talking about. And again, when you go back to MCAS coming on totally new, I had my students, in school at that time. And what we did was, we did workshops as a district. We made sure we put something in language that parents could understand. So we will put together a group and start to take a look. We, of course, have our parent academies for this year, but there's nothing stopping us once we have a handle on this, and we're looking at it to come up with a night that we can share with parents, or we'll come up with different opportunities for executive team members to get out to some of the PAC meetings and make sure that we're sharing the information.
Okay, and I did have one more question, I'm sorry. My other question is, I've often referred people to go on the DESE site. If they're curious how their school does, they can see the levels. Am I correct that they are no longer doing levels? And if not, is there going to be something so that parents in any district can go on and really kind of see how their school compares?
Yep, you will be able, when the data are no longer embargoed, so on Thursday, everything will be public. They don't have levels, but I wanted to look up, so I got the language right. Schools requiring assistance or intervention and schools not requiring intervention. There's schools of recognition, those are the top achieving, meeting target schools, partially meeting target schools. Then you have the intervention, focused targeted support, and broad comprehensive support. So that will be on the website. It's different from the 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, which everyone sort of readily understood. But the levels will be there, and the percentiles, I believe, will be there.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Kinsell.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I
Next,
had
I
a
would
joke for you.
Next, I'd like to invite up Chief Academic Officer June Saber McGuire and Dr. Julianne Andrade to give you a report on kindergarten and our new preschool program. Also, June will do an update on curriculum and instruction.
Yeah. So let's put this. Wash your hands after you touch this. Let me see.
So just in connection and response to your question, Lisa, we are actually looking at using some of our Title I funds. We have been using those to support parent evenings at all of our schools, and those are actually hosted by the schools themselves. So we have what we call PEL liaisons, parent engagement liaisons, at each one of our schools, and part of what we've been talking about in our office is using this as an opportunity to explain, to plan some evenings where we are going to ask those folks in the schools to much like we used to do. We did MCAS parent nights, and so we're actually going to revisit that opportunity, and we're going to offer those opportunities for parents.
I know when we were speaking about the budget, we did discuss, having funds for this purpose. I guess
Yeah.
my larger concern is if we don't have the answers yet, if we're not getting responses to our questions, then how much information can we really share?
Right, so at least helping parents to understand what the new accountability system looks like. But again, we still have a lot of work to do to even prepare our teachers to be able to explain that to parents. So that's the first plan, and then we're going to be looking at using some of those Title I funds to support some parent evenings.
Okay, thank you.
So at least we get to talk about something fun for a minute, right? So kindergarten and preschool, that's always an exciting time in the Brockton Public Schools. So here are a couple of fun pictures for you to look at, photos from the first days of school. And again, like when you look at this, and that's kind of sobering, but fun at the same time, we're welcoming the classes of 2031. That's right. And 2032 to the Brockton Public Schools. So I don't know how many of us will be in the Brockton schools in 2031 and 2032 in our current roles, but there are our youngest Brockton Public School students. So over here on the left, you see opening day for pre-K at the Arnone, and we had the opportunity to visit those preschools, and I can't give the Arnone school staff, the principal, everybody there, the teachers, enough credit. I would say that it was such a really successful and exciting, fun opening for something that's been a long time coming in the Brockton schools. And then on the right, you see the kindergarten students ready for their first day at the Davis. I don't know if you can see the superintendent in the background, but I think yeah, there she is. She's the tall one. But I think the most important thing that really jumped out for me of that picture is looking at all the smiling faces. So that's really exciting to see. And I want to mention that I also had a grandson who started in the Brockton Public Schools in kindergarten at the Kennedy School, and he absolutely loves kindergarten. He can't say enough good things about how much fun he's having. He's a Kennedy Cougar Cub.
And I do have to say, I was a little nervous with pre-K that there might be some tears. That was a concern to me, but we had 2 happy starts in the morning and the afternoon, so that was a big event for us.
And the other thing that I just want to mention, and again, being involved with it at a number of our elementary schools, we had a program called Jumpstart for Kindergarten, where we opened our doors 2 weeks before the start of school for our youngest kindergarten students who are about to start, and I would say that made a big difference in making those students feel really comfortable in starting at their new schools.
Good.
So my grandson did say to me, I said, "Oh, you're going to be a Kennedy Cougar Cub?" And he said, "I'm already a Kennedy Cougar Cub," and that was because of Jumpstart for Kindergarten.
That's great.
So this is what our numbers look like, and as you can see there, we're currently at 53 students. One of the things that we recognized is that we would like to obviously increase our enrollment in our preschool. So one of the things that we're looking to do is to expand the opportunities for students so any student now, and we're going to be advertising this, and Dr. Andrade is working with Michelle Bolton to be able to put this on the Brockton Public Schools website, and we're going to do a Connect Ed call, and we're going to open up enrollment for our preschool students for any student who was born in the year 2013.
Right. And as you can see right now, we have our highest number at 14, but we cap off at 20. So we do have some open seats available that we'd like to fill as well.
But basically, we would capture all of those students in 2013, so that were born in 2013, so they'd have an opportunity. It would be on a first-come, first-served basis, but we would at least open up those seats to additional families.
Good.
So this is what our total kindergarten enrollment looks like, and we did a comparison for you so that you could see the impact that rolling back the date had on our total enrollment. In 2017-18, we had 1,314 students, and in the current year, we have 1,207 students enrolled in our kindergarten. And again, that's as of today. There are obviously still some outstanding enrollments that haven't, folders that haven't been completed, so we expect those numbers to increase, but that's a difference of 107 students. And so we had predicted, actually, I think it was closer to 180.
Yep. Yep. And I think we're seeing over time that the enrollment in kindergarten is really starting to stabilize, because we hit a high point about 5 years of almost 1,500. So now we're seeing between like 1,350 and 1,420.
And now we're just going to, Dr. Andrade is going to talk about the curriculum that we're using in pre-K and kindergarten.
Yep, we're very excited. We received our pre-K kindergarten curriculum materials, big day for pre-K. We had launched at the Barrett Russell in one classroom, and now we have it in both of the pre-K classrooms at the Arnone School. I've had a chance to talk with the teachers, and they really like the curriculum materials. And also part of the pre-K Big Day program is the social emotional learning piece, which we think is really important for our earliest learners, and that's embedded right in there. For kindergarten, we've had REACH. We're going on 3 years in some classrooms for REACH for kindergarten. In other schools, it's 2 years. But the exciting news for us is foundations now. I've spoken to you about foundations in the past, where it's our foundational reading skills, and now this year I'm happy to say we have it in pre-K through grade 2. So we've already got some good feedback from students entering grade 1 about their letter ID, knowing sounds, and also the handwriting too. That's been a big improvement, and we hope to see that consistency grow across the board.
So during the past 2017-2018 school year, we were able to really reestablish what was our PD Executive Professional Development Executive Council. And as we go through the next couple of slides, what I want to point out to you is that the purpose of these councils is really to review, it's to monitor, it's to approve, it's to monitor the work of the many steering committees that are going on across the district. And so what we put together for you for this evening is to share with you some of the steering committees and the work that is happening for the current school year and how this work is supporting the district strategic plan. So at the elementary level, in grades pre-K to 5, again, there are many committees that are going on across the district. We have, I'll just point a few out, in ELA, our curriculum committee in grades K to 2, again led by Dr. Andrade, is doing amazing work, really looking at REACH, looking at foundations, and looking at our Empowering Writers program to really align all 3 of those curriculum resources in a way that allows teachers to be able to easily, I would say, make connections and be able to put together lessons in a really, truly effective way. And do you want to talk about that?
Sure.
Doc?
Any time that you have a large core reading program, it has multiple parts, so teachers can feel overwhelmed by the sheer number of things. And oftentimes you can never teach every single component of it. So what we did is we worked with teachers over summer committees that we were funded by the grant. It's been several years in place now, really teacher-led, also by the instructional leadership coaches, where we've gone through and really picked out those important pieces that we feel that are valuable and that will move students forward. And it's been greatly received by teachers this year and really kept stabilizing teaching and curriculum in literacy right now, and we're very happy to see that grow over time. I'll tell you in a few minutes about launching grades 3 to 5, but just that we have those documents in place really help people. It helps them understand it in a different level where they're not worried about learning a new curriculum and teaching it at the same time, that they have some guidance around it.
So just a couple other quick things. Our Professional Learning Community Steering Committee, that's a new committee this year, and that committee is just dedicated to looking at some of the work that we've been doing in the past 4 years. We currently have 8 elementary schools who have gone through a process of professional development that has really contributed to developing professional learning communities where we've developed lead teachers, grade level facilitators, and they're all really dedicated to looking at the cycle of professional practice. So what we're looking to do to some degree is to institutionalize that work in a way that allows us to develop a team that's going to be able to go out and provide professional development to bring other schools on board for that. The Math Summer Steering Committee, Pre-K-5 EdSite, if Dr. Ronan was here, she would tell you that EdSite has been the bane of her existence, but at the same time, it really offers us a really exciting opportunity to look at bringing on some of our district-level benchmark tests and bringing them into an opportunity to provide students with multiple experiences in taking an online test. So our paper tests are all being converted to web-based tests, computer-based testing. And so that's quite a bit of work for all of our teachers. And all of these committees are made up of teachers across the district.
And one thing I think you should know is being part of a committee is professional development itself for teachers. I've had people report to me that they never knew the curriculum so deeply as when they were involved in these committees. And to me, that's great because they go out to schools and they become teacher leaders themselves.
So we are making things happen. And the same thing, again, the same type of work, this level of work is happening at the middle school level. And again, these things do mirror each other because if you look at the middle school summer math steering committee, again, they're focused on EdSite, again, developing these opportunities for students to really move to an online testing format. Social studies steering committee, this is something, again, Dr. Andrade has been working with Jamie Esty, our associate principal, who's our lead social studies facilitator, who is leading a steering committee looking at civics education. And so she's put a steering committee together to be able to look at that. And our middle school math assessment steering committee, again, mirroring the work at the elementary and the high school level. The high school, alternative high school ELA summer committee, this is work that's been done and led by Eileen McQuaid. Our Leadership Council for Academic Excellence and Boxer Pride at Brockton High School, that's work that's really important to leading the work at the high school level. And then we also have a social studies steering committee that has been put together by our new social studies department head, Stephanie Landerholm, and they're really looking at realigning the social studies curriculum frameworks to reflect the new standards. And then again, when you look at all these steering committees, and I hope Aldo Petronio is paying attention to all of this because he thinks he can lead all of these steering committees, but we have so much work going on in the district, from PLC training, our Wellness Digital Literacy Steering Committee, to point out just a few 6 principles for exemplary teaching. I'm sure the superintendent and Deputy Superintendent Thomas and actually Aldo Petronio can talk about the work that they did around this past year to make this something that we're offering to all of our teachers in the Brockton schools to support our teachers in developing, I would say, improving their skills around teaching ELL learners.
And Mrs. Saber, I think we want to make sure too that we mentioned that we're very committed to teacher voice.
Well, throughout all of these steering committees, I think we did highlight that teachers are serving on all of these committees.
Right.
They're made up of our Brockton Public Schools teachers.
And new initiatives.
New and past initiatives.
Right. And I'm going to talk about Reach for Reading for 1 minute. We're very happy to report that Reach for Reading is in all grades this year, K through 5, district-wide. It's new to grades 3 through 5 in this school year. And every year, the Office of Learning and Teaching sends out a survey that has different components, curriculum and professional learning communities, and giving teachers and other instructional coach, many people from school to give a chance to give us feedback on it. And one of the focus that came up over and over again in the survey was that teachers wanted to learn more on writing. So we're taking that. We're getting some professional development in writing October 18th in one of our in-service days. One of the things we're really happy about is that we can have consistent planning around a common resource and how important that is. And we know that our population at times can be transient. So if children are going from school to school, they will have the same common resource there. And what REACH does for us is it provides us an equitable and guaranteed curriculum. And we'll talk a little bit later about the importance of having a curriculum in place.
But overall, I would say you've been out there talking to teachers who are using the resource, and what kind of feedback are you getting?
Well, I was out the first day of school to at least 3, if not 4 schools, and I had people stop me from around the different schools and said to me, "Thank you so much for putting this resource in place." It makes a big difference. In my opinion, we need teachers to focus on delivering quality instruction and not necessarily on writing curriculum. And at this point, they have something that we vetted, that it's research-based, it's high quality for them, and they can spend time working together with their colleagues about instruction and how to deliver it best for our students.
And so at the middle school level, we're looking at some math resources, and actually at Brockton High School as well. And Mathia it's actually it's a math software program. We piloted it last year at Brockton High School and South Middle School, and you can see if you look at the last bullet in the 5-month pilot that we implemented at South Middle School. John Lynch was monitoring the data very closely, and the gains at South Middle School were really impressive. And what they really did show was that in the 5-month pilot, they saw gains close to what other schools in an entire school year. We heard similar types of feedback from Dan Corbett, the math department head at Brockton High School. And so this year we're going beyond just a small pilot. And even though we're still focused on South Middle School and Brockton High School, we're still calling it a pilot because we're only using those 2 schools. But we are going to have a full year pilot. At Brockton High School, we have 6 math teachers who are going to be using Mathia, and then all of the math teachers at South Middle School. So we're excited to see what types of evidence we see from looking at student outcomes.
Plus, they recently just gave us ice cream, which is always a plus.
Right, they did have a long-lived math event at South Middle School. There was an ice cream truck and music and all kinds of swag, and so the teachers there really appreciated that.
Right. Even though I'm literacy, I did appreciate it still being math.
And so, again, Dr. Andrade has been working very closely with South Middle School on the Massachusetts Tiered System of Support. It's one of the grants that the Department of Ed has offered us the opportunity to participate, and she's been working very closely with the team at South.
Right. This is a 3-year grant. We're in year 2 right now. Along with the DESE, the provider is Core Academy team, which are experts at a national level and also local level. They provide support through network meetings, on-site PD, which can be up to 10 visits a year, and planning opportunities for the team members. Team members from South Middle are not just literacy, they're also the content areas too, as well as social studies and math. And our goal is to develop a personalized literacy framework that's based on data to increase student performance. But along with that there's some really robust professional development for teachers. So last year was very successful. The team was able to get some very strong literacy practices in place, and they felt as though that was very successful. So I'm really happy to grow with that again this year. And our focus this year has also changed somewhat, and we're looking at literacy and racial equity too, which we had a great presenter there, and we're even thinking about possibly bringing him back here to the district.
Right, so that's been work that, again, talking to the instructional leadership team at South Middle School, they have said that they do believe that this work has really impacted teachers and instructional practice in a really positive way. And then finally, when you see a 360-degree curriculum audit, I laugh, because anytime you hear the word audit, that can't be something that you look at through a positive lens. But we're actually really looking forward to going through this curriculum audit. Again, we're partnering with Johns Hopkins and the Department of Education to be able to do a K-12 curriculum audit, starting with literacy. And if we look at the next slide, again, I think this is just such a powerful quote. Curriculum matters. Again, this is a statement taken from research through Johns Hopkins, and it's that curriculum matters. And I'm going to read it because I just think it's such a powerful statement that high quality research suggests that using best in-class instructional materials can improve student learning even more than other more well-known interventions, such as expanding preschool, giving merit pay to successful teachers, decreasing class size, or increasing the number of charter schools in a district. And so what I think that we have recognized, especially through some of the work that we've done at the elementary schools and looking at some of the struggles teachers have had and really trying to go out and find their own resources and put things together, is that it really is the responsibility of the district to put these high quality resources into the hands of teachers, and that we need to be, I would say, very deliberate about looking at what those resources are and vetting them in a way that we have real confidence in whatever it is that we're investing in as a district for our teachers and, of course, our students. And so by going through this type of audit, we believe that they will give us the type of information that we need to make really good decisions moving forward, especially for our middle school and high school.
That's great. That's it.
Yes, thank you very much to the Office of Learning and Teaching. This has certainly been work that has been ongoing, and I also want to publicly thank Dr. Julianne Andrade because, you know, we did not have, it was a position we cut a number of years ago when we looked at early childhood, and she took this on without, you know, any compensation. She took it on when she was needed this summer to make sure there was curriculum, to make sure that things were in place for the littlest youngsters to come. So I want to publicly thank you for all the time, the effort. You know, it's going to be a wonderful program. At the same time, I want to thank the school committee because this has been years coming. This is a start. It is exactly what we wanted. You know, I think when we start to highlight, when parents start to see this opportunity before their children start kindergarten at a reasonable age. And you also, you know, again, thank you to the team of June Saber-McGuire, Dr. Andrade and their team for presenting over 2 years to us 2 years ago what the standards were for preschool, what the standards are now for kindergarten. I will tell you at Convocation on opening day when we talked about some of the new things happening in the district to, you know, our 1,200 plus teachers. And when we talked about rolling back that kindergarten age to make sure our children have a fighting chance when they're coming in, being taught appropriate materials developmentally, it had the biggest cheer. And it wasn't just from kindergarten teachers or elementary teachers, it was your middle school and high school teachers who, again, are getting a 13-year-old in grade 9. So this is going to set the stage for Brockton for a long time to come, and I want to thank you again for your efforts in this and making sure that we're supporting our youngsters the best we can. Also, when you do talk about research-based materials, I'm so pleased to hear, because it doesn't matter what conference I'm attending, whether we're presenting at conferences, it is all about research-based products in the hands of teachers, which then they will work together in their professional learning communities as teams, making sure that they put their own talent into it, their own way of making sure that you're delivering this information. We, again, have researched, and I'm so pleased, and I want to thank Aldo Petronio and his team, because we started out visiting other districts where they had K-5 reach. We had researched it for our special education students, our English language learner students. We were seeing progress and growth, and what we did, and we wouldn't pull back, is we were able to implement it in kindergarten and then in first grade. And you heard Dr. Julian Andrade talking about what the rollout was. But to be able to finally say grades K to 5 throughout our district, we have common curriculum, whether they move from the Baker School, to the Downey School. They have common curriculum. So this is a big step forward for us. And it's not that it has taken us a long time to get there, but whether it was budget, whether it was resources, whether it was making sure we had the right resources, we've taken the time to do this. And you heard the presentation during our retreat last January, again, about the horizontal, the vertical articulation. When you start to hear about accountability and the way that you're comparing schools, we're going to have to make sure that, again, each level is treated the same. And they're communicating with each other, they're planning together, and that we are doing what we need to do to move the kids along. So thank you. And I will tell you, you brought up Deputy Superintendent Thomas, myself, and Aldo Petronio, and it really is interesting because we took a class on retail like our teachers throughout the district, to get our endorsement. And it was Nori Harris was our teacher. She is one of our bilingual coaches. She is fabulous. I love the fact that I taught her in a graduate program, Law for the Educator. So it was fun to have that role reversed. And one of the things that we found out for our culminating project, our capstone project, was in looking at the 6 principles of, is it exemplary teaching? This is just really good teaching, whether it's an English language learner in your class, a special education student, a struggling student, all students. So this is something that we are offering. Kelly Jones contacted me the other day and said people are signing up for these courses. We'll continue to provide this professional development opportunity for every teacher that wants this opportunity in our district. So thank you. Our capstone project will benefit the Brockton Public School for years to come.
Questions?
Judy?
Hi. Thank you. I just wanted to ask a question about the preschool program.
Yes.
That was just implemented. I know it was to target the burr babies. So of those families that it targeted, how many do you think percentage took advantage of the program?
Well, I think we thought that it was probably going to be about between 160 and 180 families that might have been eligible at that time, and we have 53 right now, but I
So
think
right now, the majority of the students that we have,
They're all-
53, they're all burr babies.
they're all the November, December burr babies.
Okay.
But now that we have the seats that are available, we can open it up to students, I believe we were going to say January 1st, 2013.
Yep.
Okay.
So we can hopefully fill those seats very soon.
So I think your question is, though, that
Yep.
there were quite a few students,
Right.
burr babies, who didn't take advantage
Okay.
of
Yep.
the opportunity to participate. So we will absolutely be looking at ways to extend sort of those opportunities for those families.
Okay. Maybe it was transportation or
Right.
that
Right.
they needed like
Yep.
a whole day program or something.
I would love to see the idea that we had a 4-year-old program that was full day eventually. And I think what happens now that we really have some skin in the game, that we have teachers, we have students in our classrooms pre-K right now, then the state is more likely to fund us if money comes around, other than if we didn't have a
Yeah, I
program.
said that.
And if you can get the word out there, we'll make sure that we're providing information to you when you're out at your school meetings, your PAC meetings that you're attending, any of the community events. As you see, we do have openings up to 20 in those classes. So we would like to fill those spaces. If there are parents that, again, want to make a phone call, they can certainly call June and Julian at the Office of Learning and Teaching and find out more. So please help us to spread the word.
Okay, just one more question on the kindergarten numbers. So I was at the Baker tonight for an open house, and I'll be going over to the Downey this week too. But I did kind of hear that the K classes were kind of high, and that the new students were coming in, were still coming in, even though, are we capping that at a certain?
The kindergarten at the Baker School is currently capped. So
Okay.
they won't
Because they
receive
said there
any
was
more.
26, but one more came in, so now someone has 27.
Right, no, the kindergarten classes at the Baker are capped, so I can certainly check in with Soraya at school
Oh, we
registration.
probably have room at the Downey, I don't know.
The Downey, we do
We-
have seats at the Downey, and so that
Okay.
is, any incoming kindergartner at this point in that zone will be assigned to the
Okay.
Downey,
Good, thank you.
yes.
I promised them I'd ask you that,
Yes.
so.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. Okay, I just want to bring to your attention that Dr. Murray and I met the other day with Mary Waldron, who works for Bridgewater State University. I will be talking to President Clark. We are going to be providing on-site at Brockton High School a small office space for Bridgewater. There are many collaborations going on at the Gilmore School, formerly the Huntington, which has been going on for years, where you actually have labs where students from Bridgewater that are getting their teaching certification come in, actually have classwork, work in the schools with some of our students. We have, of course, student teachers. We have the bridge program for our middle schools. We have the footbridge program for the Gilmore Elementary School students to actually see a college campus and actually work with professors along with our teachers in the summer programs. So we have numbers and numbers of programs. We are looking to do early college. We're looking to do opportunities for parents and students that need help with FAFSA. So there are many things that by having a college, and this is not uncommon. I know when we visited Springfield Public Schools a couple of years ago, they had a collaboration with Westfield State University, pretty similar. So we're going to be trying something out. I'm looking forward to meeting with President Clark, and we are going to be inviting them to come to Brockton High, and we'll update you on some of the collaborations happening there. Also, you have in front of you tonight, and this has been a lot of work. It's interesting to try to make things happen, but this is the equity in education that we had talked about going to building our coalitions. So on the 9th of October, we are going to have our caravan leaving from Brockton. We'll get you the information for that evening. We're going to be doing a presentation along with Holyoke, Springfield, Brockton, and Worcester to talk about the equity in education, to talk about advocacy, to talk about some of the struggles that we're all experiencing with our budget. We do have an agenda, and it's probably going to be from 5:30 to 7 o'clock, and we'll try to keep to that. So we're also, once we get back, I've been talking, and we've been invited to Southeastern Mass. I know Fall River, New Bedford, a number of the cities in that direction. So we will continue to, as we talked about, building our coalitions and getting ready for the new budget season that'll be happening, and making sure that we're working with our legislators to talk about what the needs are in districts like Holyoke, Springfield, Brockton, Worcester. And we start to talk about if there is an equity in education lawsuit. We are in the process now of researching. We're looking to, really have a campaign and talk about the issues that we've been talking about since the Foundation Budget Review Commission, and, what the stress is on our budget or supporting our youngsters. So all of this is happening, and just looking at these cities, Springfield, Worcester, Holyoke, and Brockton. I mean, you could have your lead plaintiffs looking at you right now. So, hopefully we will have a good showing in Western Mass. And you also have your conference coming up in November, Mass Association for School Superintendents, along with the Mass Association for School Committees. We actually have a couple of presentations that'll be happening. One, we're going to be presenting on why we need trauma-sensitive schools. And I also just found out that we are going to be comparing two sisters that teach. There's a sister that teaches in Burlington and comes from Brockton, and a sister that teaches at the Davis School. So that's what I'll tell you to begin. We're just starting to put this together, and we're going to talk about the two cities and really highlight the wonderful teaching that goes on, the attention paid to kids, but it will almost be a story in itself as we bring attention to some of the things that we're dealing with in both communities. So we're looking forward to being part of your conference. Also, just to let you know, the job ad has closed for your executive assistant applications. We will be pulling together a group from the school committee to be part of the interview process. Not that there'll ever be a way to replace Wanda, but as we start to count down and, prepare for 2019, January 2000 or February 2019, we need to start to do some transitioning. So I will be looking for people being involved in that process. And I know, Mr. Minicello, you have a couple of grants to talk about. Let me just finish with a couple of things, and I'll hand it over to you. But we did get a federal grant for $230,000 for federal emergency impact aid, and that was the students that were displaced from Hurricanes Maria, Irma, Harvey, and the California wildfires last year. We did not have large numbers like some districts across the state, but we did have a number of students. In looking at that money as it comes in, it almost had to be spent before the money ever came in. It's part of last year's budget. What we are going to do is purchase laptop carts. So as we have the discussion about one-to-one devices and needing to make sure we're resourcing students from kindergarten, certainly through our high school students that'll be taking this for their high school credential, that's what we will be using that money for. We also have the community school calendar that just recently came out. So this is the fall calendar. It has all of the student programs. It has some of our adult programs in there. You can register online. So please make sure you go on to community schools on the Brockton Public Schools website, and you can find a lot of offerings for our students. And that is it. You have a couple of them?
Yeah, a couple of items. I would like to invite Principal Murray to the microphone, if he could speak to us a little bit about a baseball grant that we received for some outdoor and indoor batting cages and some, I believe, some softball uniforms as well.
And I want to recognize, as Dr. Murray comes up, that he still has his red and black spirit due. So we're very excited that, and this has been since, what, September 7th?
This is Boxer Pride Month, and so
Boxer Pride Month. Oh, good.
you might think I lost a bet, but I actually won. So. We're very fortunate. Karen Watts, Kevin Cairo had connected with the National Major League Baseball, and we actually had a representative from Major League Baseball show up to a site visit. And the purpose of the grant was to try to obtain 2 batting cages. Currently, the men's baseball team can use the cage over at the Rock Stadium. Unfortunately, all the softball players have nowhere to go. So, along with weather conditions, which seem to prohibit a lot of outdoor activity in the spring, they have a design where they have one batting cage that actually can be retracted into the ceiling of the gym. We're fortunate that we have the gym the size that we have, the way it's divided up, and then also a cage that will work outside. And after the site visit, I believe there were about 150 applicants. They were only awarding, I think it was maybe a dozen. We were just found out today, we're very fortunate that we've been awarded that grant. So we'll have a batting cage that all the kids can use inside, and then the other cage will go over by the girls' softball field so that they'll have equal access to that. And the uniforms is a bonus. We were not actually asking for new uniforms, but we certainly were very appreciative that they're giving those to us as well. This is a grant from Major League Baseball, so it's kind of it's a big deal for our 2 spring teams, softball and baseball.
And when do you anticipate the equipment being installed?
The goal was to have things ready for the coming spring season, so we need to do a little engineering in our ceiling in the gym, but we didn't see that as an issue. And then the cage out in the field is really just a matter of kind of preparing the surface, which shouldn't be too big a deal.
Great, that's wonderful.
Yep.
This is a clear example, again, of going after a grant. This is about $27,000+.
Right.
A need in the district. I want to thank Karen, Kevin Caro. People continue to come together. We make sure that if there is, something out there that we feel will benefit our students or our families, that we are actively seeking these grants. So it's been a plus.
Excellent.
The first home football game, we collected over 2,000 cans. I'd like to thank the fans from Lexington as well, because they contributed. I think the people of the Charity Guild were very appreciative. The facilities, the grounds crew folks really stepped up and took care of all of us. So nice job. It's a team effort. And then, of course, this Friday is BC, which is home. So we'd encourage everybody to wear their red and black. And we're hoping to have a student section and do some other things as well to try to create the same kind of energy we had for the home opener.
That'll be 7 o'clock kickoff again?
Correct.
Okay.
And we did get a call from Lexington to tell us what a wonderful job our fans did. They were amazed, again, at the halftime show. I don't think they were too happy about the score. We, of course, were. But again, as Dr. Murray said, they contributed. They were happy to be here, and that's exactly what you want on a Friday night for kids.
I think something else that we ought to mention is the cross-country team actually competed in I think it's a tri-state meet down in Rhode Island this past weekend. And we actually had a young man from Brockton High, Manny, came in first place. I think there was, 1,500 athletes that competed. There were a lot of runners. Nicole Dunbury placed 9th.
Wow.
A sophomore from Brockton High, and a lot of personal bests. So along with our soccer team that's only had 1 loss, and our volleyball team in the same spot, we have a lot of things going on. All of our clubs started this week. We have over 60 clubs. We have a club fair tomorrow. And so we have a lot going on to try to include as many students as possible.
Well, Dr. Murray, you're going to have to get us our student rep.
Yeah, actually, we have several people we're going to be meeting with later in the week. It's just been one thing after another. So we've got a lot of seniors who are very involved. Today was voter registration day. I was not aware of in the Commonwealth that if you're 16, you can actually pre-register to vote, and you do it electronically, and if you don't move, you're automatically registered. So we had people in the building today at lunch, and we actually had to make more copies of the registration forms. So we felt we had a very successful event today. A lot of the students very excited about registering to vote. So I thought that's a good sign. They're very involved.
That's terrific. And we have a new registrar of voters in Brockton. She's contacted us.
Right, I had a meeting with her. This was a group of sororities that have come together that have taken this initiative on. Our newly elected senior class officers last spring had asked about making voter registration a priority in light of all the things that we saw happen last spring with students and getting involved and so on and so forth. So today was a good day that way.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
All right.
And that is,
We have another item,
yes.
yep, which tails nicely with our art show today, the Art Awards. We have a national campaign for literacy with respect to our little ones, our kindergarten and preschoolers. It's a national campaign to involve parents, community, students, schools, and it basically is a uniform book that is part of the program. Maybe something beautiful, how art transformed a neighborhood. Everyone has the book. It's very colorful, like our art projects. Oops, sorry. Like our art projects tonight. So it's another nice addition to our repertoire. And, if it helps our youngsters, then we're all for it.
And on the back, it says Jumpstart, Read for the Record. So this is for everybody that has the book, and we'll be sending these books home with our youngest students. It says, Read, Connect, Succeed. Join the fun and pledge to read for the record with us on October 25th, 2018 to celebrate the amazing power of reading and help us build early literacy and language skills in every child. So when the children come home with these books, make sure you're sitting down, reading to the entire family, and taking the pledge.
Yep, I believe there's a national contest. They're trying to break a record in terms of having participation. So Brockton's always good to break records in a positive way, so hopefully we'll do our part. So another positive item.
And items to refer to subcommittee, we have our policy subcommittee coming up on the 2nd of October. I know Dr. Tarasi will be working with the subgroup there. We have a safety and security on the 16th of October. And we are looking to do the superintendent evaluation. I am going to need 2 hours. I'm looking to possibly do it on October 25th. I'm going to be looking at a different kind of, I mean, it's the evaluation system, but I'm really highlighting the work that has gone on throughout the district with executive team, working with the superintendent. I think going forward, this is the best way to really evaluate the work happening in the district, or allow you to have an opportunity to talk about the goals that you want going forward as the superintendent prepares their goals for the coming year. So hopefully it's like a little a retreat. So is I guess Wanda will poll the group for, it's a Thursday night, Wanda? Thursday night. October 25th.
Okay. Great.
Very good. And that is it for me.
Okay, any unfinished business? No? Okay. Under new business, we, at this time of the year, we have to elect an official voting delegate for the MASC conference. I know I'm attending. Who else might be attending that conference?
November 7th. November 7th through the 10th.
Yeah, so we need to vote on a delegate. So I will be there. If people want me to do it, I'm fine to do it. If someone else wants to do it, that's fine too. So we have to make a motion. And we also have to elect an alternate. So who else might be going? Tim usually goes? All right, well, since Mr. Sullivan's not here, why don't we elect him as the alternate delegate? So, okay, so could someone make a motion? Lisa?
I'd like to make a motion for you, Mr. Minicello, to be our delegate and for Tim Sullivan to be our alternate.
Second? Second. Thank you. Any further discussion? All in favor? Okay. Any other new business? No? I actually, it's quite often that I get a call because someone is concerned or needs something, but I actually got a very nice email that I wanted to share with the body, the school committee. This is from a person that I know, a constituent, and someone I would consider a friend. He's a grandfather, and his daughter moved back into the city, and he now has a kindergartner and a second grader going to the Hancock. So this is the first year in a long time that he has been at the Hancock School. So I'm going to just read you a quick note. Tom, please pass along my compliments and respect for the persons assigned to the Hancock School for the caring and efficient manner in which they greet the kids each morning when I drop them off. They make certain each one is safely guided to the entrance as they exit my vehicle, which is very reassuring, as it certainly gets very hectic. The children are very excitable as school starts, and these aides do a superlative job in ensuring their safety in a pleasant and organized manner. I'm equally impressed when they are dismissed, as the children are not allowed to leave until they recognize their parent or the person picking them up. Great job, so-and-so. So I just thought I'd share that, and I'm going to obviously tell Mr. Shaw, but it's nice to hear, get a note like that in the middle of the day. You say to yourself, see, good things are happening and people do notice them, so. So that's that.
Thank you, good news.
Yes, my friend is a grandfather, so again, he hasn't been in the school realm for a long, long, long time. And his daughter went to the Hancock School as a child, so it's a big circle of life, as they say, so. So any other business? No? Okay, seeing none, how about we entertain a motion to adjourn? All in favor? Great, thank you. We are adjourned.